Between now and Selection Sunday on March 13th, there are still tons of regular season college basketball action to go. Plus, all of the conference tournaments and WagerTalk and Sports Memo are announcing their March Madness Bonanza special, which includes the rest of college basketball regular season, conference tournaments, NCAA tournament through the national championship, and any plays released in the NIT or CBI tournaments. Sign up for this promotion now at your favorite handicappers homepage and get the rest of the college basketball season through the national championship on Monday, April 4th for just $177. That's under $5 a day for one of the best betting experience in sports. Act fast as the March Madness Bonanza special is only available for a limited time.
Happy Friday, guys. Carmine and Bianco, WagerTalk.com, with this edition of Puck Time, the Friday Puck Time. Love doing this Friday segment because we got the 6 and 60 towards the end of the show. Andrew's got the day off today. He's visiting some family, so he's got an early drive this morning. So we gave him the day off, filling in for him, the guy who helps out whenever we need him, Bryan Leonard. I'll bring him on in a second, but just a couple thoughts to open up the show because I took yesterday off. Obviously, I had to I had to go to the hospital, pick up one of those monitors. It was like a 24-hour thing where you wear it for 24 hours. I dropped it off this morning, but they gave me a journal with this monitor, and you're supposed to chart everything that happens, or if anything happens at all. You can leave it blank, but if something happens, you're supposed to chart it. And basically, it was like 8:15 p.m. Cam Talbot blows. 9:30 p.m. Yes, the Wild win. 9:10 or 10 p.m. Canucks, baby. I'm telling you, when the doctor sees this journal that is attached to the heart monitor that I dropped off, he's going to send me to a psychologist before he sends me to a heart specialist. But another good night last night, 3-0 in NHL. Loving it. This show needs a bald guy on it. I watched yesterday's show while driving back from the hospital, and I heard Andrew call me a jinx because I went to the Leaf game and the Leafs lost. Well, it's only a jinx if you are playing the Leafs. If you're cheering against them, then everything went well if you played against them. But with that said, those are my observations from Friday and today. We safe travels to Andrew. We'll see him back on a Monday for his buy and sell segment, and let's bring in my co-host, Bry. What's going on, man? Thanks for coming on last minute.
No problem at all. And thank you for going to that Toronto game. I was able to catch my Buffalo +1.5 ticket. Yesterday it was strange. If you were able to survive having a heart monitor on through last night's games, you were doing pretty well, because there was some games last night that were just going back and forth all night long. And unfortunately for my clients, I didn't end up on the right side of those, but I did pretty well on the show yesterday. So hopefully we continue on with that. But it was a lot of heartbreaking losses last night, and a lot of games that were a lot closer than what we thought should happen.
Brian, but listen, man, you're having a fantastic season. It's a season of ebbs and flows, but you've had a majority of winning nights. So a few rare losing nights are going to happen. I had, and I'm always transparent about this, I had what was a horrendous start to the season in October. Absolutely. I wish I could forget October. If there was a way of seeing a psychologist to remove those memories from my mind. But it's been uphill ever since. It's been very good. 3-0 night for me last night. The over in the Wild's game, the Wild in regulation, and the Vancouver Canucks in New York beating the Islanders. So it continues a pretty good run. I think it's 8-1 this week in NHL and 35-11 NHL run. So I hope to try and continue that with a couple of games tonight. But let's get to tonight. 4 games on the card, guys, that we are going to discuss. Pittsburgh, Carolina, LA Kings, Columbus, Dallas, Winnipeg, and then we're going to end it with Vegas and Anaheim. Now let's get right to it, guys. First game on the card, Pittsburgh, Carolina. Let's have a look at the numbers here on this one. Carolina, a short favorite at home, -135. The Pens, +115 on the road. And the total here sits at 6. I look at this game and, these two teams played, they've only played once, which was earlier this season in Pittsburgh with the Canes winning that game of 4-3. It was Jari and Ranta in net that game. We're likely to see Ranta in net tonight and the Smith in net for the Penguins because both these teams are off back-to-backs. Carolina losing last night in Washington 4-0. Pittsburgh with a huge win in Tampa Bay that Brian talked about on the show when I watched. He said they'd likely play a very good first game on their road trip. Pens are great on the road, 12-3 their last 15. But, the Canes, the first home off of back-to-back losses on the road, 12-1-2. Their last 15 at home. They play extremely well at home. The total here is at 6. And I think we're likely to see goals in this one, Brian. While I'm not going to take a side on the show here, I'm going to lean to the over here. The total sits at 6. I think with the backup goalies in net, we've seen Pittsburgh go to DeSmith in back-to-backs a few times this season. I just think that this is one of those ones where we see some goals, and we could see something similar to that 4-3 result, especially in a back-to-back scenario here. So I'm going to go over 6 in this one. Your thoughts?
Yeah, this is an interesting day for myself to be on because normally I don't get to be on 2 days in a row where you play, the teams play both days. So we can react to what happened yesterday. And we talked about that with Carolina against Washington. Andrew came out and said, just about everybody he'd talked to that he respected all said that the Carolina line looked a little cheap. And I thought it did too. And then, of course, they go out and lose that game 4-0. Now, when you take a look at this game, it also, at least in my mind, looks that the Carolina line is cheap. Is the lines maker saying that, the people that are making the lines are saying that they don't like this Carolina team as much as they did earlier in the season? Quite possibly. It's also quite possible because yesterday we all talked about the value on Pittsburgh in that game where we thought the line was too high. And now Pittsburgh's getting a lot of credit. And if you take a look at the Tampa Bay line, compared to this Pittsburgh line, Pittsburgh's really taken a lot of money today in that regard. In Tampa Bay, that line has gone down. So is it a situation where we're looking at that game yesterday and jump to too many conclusions that Pittsburgh is dominant right now and Tampa Bay is not very good? Well, Pittsburgh dominated that game yesterday. There was no doubt about it. They were the better team. But I don't know if you can take a look at one game and make that judgment. I think this line's a little bit cheap here with Carolina. Pittsburgh's 19-9 on the road, 15-13 at home. When teams are in a situation like that, I tend to look for regression. So I think Pittsburgh on the road will regress a little bit, and at the end of the year, they'll probably be better off playing them at home. But this is their second game of back-to-back after that dominating game yesterday. It's the second game of a brutal 7-game stretch for Pittsburgh. We talked about that yesterday, which is one of the reasons why I thought they'd come out and play well in that first game. This is the fourth game of 6 days for Carolina. That is a concern here, and they've all been with travel. So if they've been home, they've only been home the one day, then they've had to go on the road once again. Off that embarrassing 4-0 loss last night, I lean with Carolina here. It's just so tough for me. I think Carolina is slightly better team than Pittsburgh. At least they've been on the season. But I think people are buying in to too much on Pittsburgh's run right now on the road, and with Carolina losing yesterday and Pittsburgh looking great. I mean, how do you find value on a team the day after you beat the defending champions, the two-time defending champions, on the road in what was a blowout and a deserved blowout? You look at the advanced stats in that game, and they completely dominated. I just think Pittsburgh's in a buy-high situation now, and I don't want them for that. So slightly into Carolina here.
Yeah, and I agree with you. The thing that worries me, as you said, is that 4 and 6 nights, because we've seen some teams struggle, but not all of them have. The travel wasn't that much in the sense of going from Washington to Carolina, but I get it. You look at this line, and it might scream value, and they want you to take Carolina, but I would think that probably is the right play here. You're not getting enough on Pittsburgh. And to your point of the home and away splits. I mentioned that earlier, I think about a month back when looking at the Dallas Stars, that they were playing lights out hockey at home, but they were last in the West on the road, but they were going to start to string some wins together. And the Stars have strung a bunch of wins together. They started with that 4-game road trip where they won all 4. They recently won in Colorado, which not many teams can do. So, as you said, sort of that regression at home kicked in for Dallas, but the reverse happened on the road where they started to win some games, and rightfully so. So, while the Pens are 12-3, their last 15 on the road, at some point they're going to start dropping some games, and this could be one of those spots. But I'm going to stick with the original over 6 on this one. All right, guys, let's look at the next game on tonight's card. It's the LA Kings and Columbus in this one. The odds on this one, the Kings are a favorite here at -160 on the road. Columbus +135. Brian, I'm going to go to you first on this one, and then I'll give you my thoughts. But what do you think of this price? -160. It opened a little bit lower. It looks like the market has been pushing the Kings upwards here. I'm not sure if we're going to go much higher on this one, but 160, 165 might be the ceiling on this one.
Yeah, if you take a look at LA on the season, they're 14-14 at home, but they're on 11-4 run on the road. Which one do you believe more? I like this LA team. I think they're a pretty good team, and they'll end up over 500 in my estimation. They'll make the playoffs, but are they that much better right now? I mean, 11-4 has been great, but you really have to pay attention to what they've done at home, 14-14. It's a situation where they played very well on the road as of late on the season. I believe they're 15-12 on the road, and the second game of a 4-game trip. But Columbus is in the third game of a 5-game homestand. They're sitting at home for the last week or so, and you're getting them here in an inflated price on my account. I like LA as a team. I think they're the better team here. Obviously, the line's telling you they're the better team here, but I've slept on Columbus over the last month, and they've been playing pretty good ball, pretty good hockey. So I think the line is too high here. It's not going to make my card, but I lean Columbus here. It's one of those situations where you're not going to get a team. Just take a look at the way these teams are on the season. LA's better. Sure, they're better. Are they 160 better? I don't believe it. Columbus is the team with the value here. Don't know if I'll get there, but I can't play LA at this inflated price.
Yeah, and Brian, it's similar to my thoughts. Not my thoughts on wanting to take Columbus here, but my thoughts on I think the Kings are the right side, but I think I've been priced out of taking this game right now. When we talked about the LA Kings in their last game, I talked about the fact that Jonathan Quick did not look good against the Boston Bruins. He was fighting the puck. I thought the best thing to do was to give him the night off, put Cal Peterson in net, and that's what they ended up doing. So he's had a game off. He likely will be in goal tonight. And as you said, their road record's been great: 7-1-2 their last 10. And while Columbus, they've strung the wins together to put themselves into 9th behind the Bruins and the Washington Capitals for that race for that 8th spot. But I just as well as they've been playing, they've dropped a few games before winning that last one against the Devils. I just think that that regression starts to kick in for them. I still think they have too much to do in order to push for a playoff spot. Washington struggled, and that's the only reason Columbus is within 10 points with a couple of games in hand of that 8th spot. But Washington comes off a confidence-building win yesterday against the Canes. I think they start to string some wins together, and I think essentially the playoff race in the East, I believe, is over. I think the 8 teams that are in the 8 spots right now will remain there, and it's going to be the jockeying for positions from here on out. I like the Kings tonight. It's not going to make my card just because it's at -160 right now. I wouldn't even consider it in regulation time. If this line was at 145, 140, I'd be on the Kings. And I know you guys might be thinking, well, what's the difference in 20 cents? It doesn't fall in my parameters of taking a game, and I think it might go a little higher, but I think the lean here is the LA Kings. Guys, before we head to the third game on the card, which is Dallas and Winnipeg, I just want to mention my promo This is the last day to get this promo. It ends at Friday at midnight. You can get the rest of the NHL regular season for the same price as a 30-day NHL package. It's $179. You click on the special on my page, and our customer service will extend that 30-day package right through to the end of the season. That's 56 days of NHL regular season plays for the price of $30 for $179. We're on a great run right now, and I hope to continue this run. So take advantage of it until Friday at midnight. All right, boys. Now the business is done. Let's get to the third game on the card, Bri. Winnipeg and Dallas. You look at the numbers on this one, and this is a coin flip. Minus 110 both ways. The total at 6. And I'm going to quickly mention this one. I looked at this total and the markets on this one. It looks like it opened at 5.5, got pushed to 6, juiced to the under, then got pushed back to 5.5, and now it's back up at 6 again. These teams have played 3 times this season. All 3 times have gone to OT. A couple 4-3 games, and then I think a 3-2-1. Jets 7-2-1 their last 10 at home to the over. 7-2-1 their last 10 overall to the over. 5-2-3 at home to the over. Here, Brian, I look at this one and I can't pick a side just because Dallas is playing extremely well on the road. Winnipeg they're sporadic and sometimes unpredictable, but they're putting some wins together as well too, trying to stay in that playoff race. My lean here is to the over. I think we see some goals in net with even with Ottinger and Hellebuck. I think we see something similar to the first 2 games that were 4-3 games in OT, more so than the 3-2 game that we saw last time out. But if you love the draw and you think this is going to be the 4th game between these two to get to OT, it's plus 310 if you take the draw. And we're seeing some OT games as of late, teams looking for points, jockeying for position. While I'm not recommending taking the draw, I wouldn't dissuade you from putting some pizza money on the draw there. I'm going to lean the over here. I'm not going to pick a side. It's minus 110 both ways for a reason. Either one, I think, can win this game. Can you give me a side?
This is a tough handicap. I went back and forth on this, and I still don't know which side I want in this game. You would think, from a Winnipeg standpoint, I hate to say must wins, because if you put yourself in a must win situation, you're not very good. I think that's what Winnipeg is. They have the ability to go out and play well, and they have in the past, but they've been very inconsistent. And in that division, you would have to think they have to come out of this game with a victory, or it's a major uphill battle, even higher than what it is right now. Dallas, we talked about this in the past. They were started the season so good at home and so bad on the road. You would look for some regression. We've seen that. I talked about that yesterday. I believe they were 4-2 last month, but they had scored 18, give up 18 at home. So they've been a nice moneymaker on the road, and that's great. It's a team that we saw that coming, and we were able to take advantage of it. But take a look at this Dallas schedule. They've traveled 7 out of their last 8 games, meaning they only played back-to-back at home once over the last 8 games. And then going to the end of the month, they travel 11 more times. The next time they play 2 games in the same city, it's not even Dallas. It's in Anaheim, the last 2 games of this month. So this is a team that's going to have a lot of mileage on their backs as they travel through this long stretch for this entire month. I think we can make some money betting against Dallas because of that. Problem is, I don't know if I can get here tonight with Winnipeg. I think Dallas is the better team. Prefer the Dallas side here, but Winnipeg, they played the other day. They came back home, and they played Montreal. And I had been riding Montreal for a pretty good time, either in personal bets or bets for clients, and they were paying off very well. I believe they had that 5-game winning streak. And then they go into Winnipeg. Winnipeg wins that game 8-4. Everybody thinks, okay, not that the line was kind of strange anyway in that game. I thought it was too high on for Winnipeg, and they win that game 8-4. But if you go back and you look at the expected goals in that game, Montreal was just as good as Winnipeg in that game and probably should have won it. And then yesterday, Montreal goes into Calgary. The line's crazy. And I looked at it and I go, well, maybe Montreal is now starting to look to tank, which is why the line was so high today. And then they get into that game, and then they come back and they win the game in overtime. This Montreal team is still playing hard. Keep that in mind for the future. But the Winnipeg's victory, while it looked good on the surface at 8-4, was not as good as what it looked. I prefer Dallas here. I'd like to get them as an underdog at plus money, but keep a look at that Dallas schedule coming up. It's brutal as hell.
Yeah, Brian, I'm going to throw it back to you for a second, but first of all, you look at that Montreal-Winnipeg game, and it's one of those rare games, and I'm not sure if it's ever happened before or if we'll ever see it again, where each team scored 4 consecutive goals. The Jets get out to a 4-0 lead. The Canadiens score 4 to tie it up. The Jets score the final 4 of the game to win. I don't think I've ever seen that before. Not that I would remember it anyways. It's such an anomaly. But you look at the Jets, and this is what I want to throw back at you. They sit 12th right now, 57 points, 7 back of the Vegas Golden Knights, with 3 teams between them and the Vegas Golden Knights who are in 8th. It just seems like an uphill battle that's just not going to happen. At what point, and I guess it's still early, but they've still got 28 games, but at what point do you see regression hit with this team where they just decide our season is done? It's 7 points it doesn't seem like a lot, but when you've got to leapfrog 3 teams just to get to that behind that the team that is in 8th spot, and you got to figure the Vegas Golden Knights and the Edmonton Oilers are going to win their share of games. So you've got to win at a pretty big clip, don't you?
Yeah, I agree, and I think this is the game. This is the game. If they lose to Dallas here, I think it'll be a situation where you may be looking to make some money off of fading them the rest of the season. But it all depends on what the players are going to go out there. When you're looking at tanking and that kind of thing, it all comes down to management and the coaching staff. The players all want to win. They go out there. I fully expect them to play as hard as they can every game they're out there. So just because we say it and it makes sense doesn't mean it's not going to happen. Look at Montreal. I mean, everybody expects Montreal to throw in the towel, and they continue to go out there. And this is a team that went to the championship last year. I mean, they think they could get back there if they start playing well. A lot of heart in that Montreal team. I've gained a lot of respect out of them, and that's why I think this game against Dallas, if they win this one, maybe there's some light at the end of the tunnel. If they lose, I think because of the people they have to pass, it may be it for Winnipeg. And by the way, speaking of expected goals, did you see that Florida expected goals yesterday? They win that game. Was it 4-0? I think they were only winning 1-0 at one point. 7.09 expected goals. That's probably the most dominant game from an expected goal standpoint as I've seen in quite some time. They completely crushed the opposition yesterday in Ottawa. And Florida's still a team that you got to really hold your breath if you're going to bet against them at home.
Yeah, and we saw them lose a few games in a row at home, which they very rarely do. I think going back 3 games where they finally lost a game at home. They were something like 23-3 their last 26 at home, and then lose consecutive games or 3 in a row. So it's a rarity with that team, but they just get so many shots on goal, and they seem to score at will. So I can see the expected goals being high, not 7 high, but I can expect them seeing high. Guys, I want to mention something before we get into the last game. There are a ton of you watching this right now across all the platforms and in this YouTube channel. We need to get that likes number up. Come on, man. Brian woke up early to do this show. Hit that like button. That's all we ask of you. We love you guys tuning in each and every day. Hit that like button. Let's get those numbers up, please. All right, guys, let's head to the final game on today's card. It's the Vegas Golden Knights and the Anaheim Ducks. Let's have a look at the price on this one. That's the Dallas Stars. We'll get the Vegas Golden Knights up there in a second. There we go. Vegas Golden Knights.
So now people can just leave the show. They already know where their best bets are.
Vegas Golden Knights minus 125 on the road. The Anaheim Ducks are plus 105. The total here is 5.5. We're likely to see Gibson and Brassard in net. Vegas Golden Knights coming off a loss at home yesterday to the Boston Bruins. This is their third in 4 nights. Their fifth in 8 nights. And they're 2-6 in their last 8. Their only wins come against the San Jose Sharks. 3 games between these two thus far this season. Vegas leads it 2-1. The home team has won every game in this series right now. And then you look at this Ducks team. Listen, they're on a 6-game homestand. They've gone 2-2. They're the only team to beat the Boston Bruins on the Bruins road trip. That has been an impressive one thus far. Bruins 4 wins in 5 games. They'll finish it off in Columbus. I'm going to keep this short and sweet. Brian, I think the Ducks here, even though they're only a small dog at plus 105, I think they're a live one tonight. We get the backup goalie for Vegas, but he's been good this year. Gibby's been good, especially at home. I'm going to take the plus 105 here with this Anaheim Ducks team. I just think the struggles for the Vegas Knights continue. And I'm still stuck on that thing that I still think this whole salary cap thing of getting Eichel in there and Mark Stone waiting until the playoffs, whether he's ready to return or not. I want to see Stone in there. I think he's a big part of this team. He's a leader on the ice. Vegas is going to be good. They're still going to get into the playoffs, but I don't see them contending for that top spot in the division. I think they just want to make the playoffs at this point, and then go from there. But I'm going to take the Ducks tonight. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it was good for me yesterday going against the Knights, and I don't see any reason to go off of that course. If you watch that game, I talked about the under, and I also talked about playing Boston. Talked about playing the Knights under, the team total of 2.5. That was a dead under game, and that's the problem you have with totals. Is if one team takes a 3-1 lead in what is surely an under game, the other team has to pull the goalie. And when it went to 4-1, Vegas pulls a goalie. All of a sudden, it goes to a higher scoring game, and it goes over the total. Over the total, people won that bet. But in the long run, I would much prefer to play the under, even though I didn't do anything on it yesterday. Vegas just doesn't have, without Pacioretty, without Stone in that lineup, they just don't have enough creators. Eichel did all he could yesterday, and they only scored 1 goal until they started pulling goalies and getting extra men on the ice. This Vegas team's offense right now is really weak. I talked about that yesterday. And this Anaheim team, Anaheim's matched up pretty well with Vegas. You mentioned Vegas has won 2 out of the 3. The first one at home was a shootout. They had to go to a shootout. The next game, Anaheim wins at home 6-5. The first game was 5-4 with the shootout. And then Vegas 3-1 at home. Vegas is just not scoring enough goals for me to back them in this situation on the road. They played better on the road than they have at home. In fact, I look for regression there. Yesterday, Vegas lost their 13th game at home this season. That's more than they've lost in a full season at home in their franchise. This is the first year they've lost 13 at home. This is not the same team as it's been in the past. And you saw that last night with Boston. Boston's a physical team out of the East. Vegas used to be physical when they had Reeves. They traded away Reeves. I didn't like it when it happened. I understood it because of the salary cap. They have nobody on this team that is willing to hit anybody. And that's the problem they have. They got one guy on offense or in the forwards, and they got one defenseman that hit. Other than that, you lose in the hits every game. They're just too much of a finesse team, and that is going to hurt them in the playoffs if they get there. I'm really concerned about them even if they get the playoffs, because as you mentioned, Stone being out, and they can't right now bring him in until the end of the regular season. Vegas is falling fast. I like Anaheim here. I worked going against Vegas yesterday, and I like Anaheim.
All right, Brian Leonard, WagerTalk.com with his comments and lean on the Anaheim and Vegas Golden Knights game, number 1 in NHL. So, guys, head over to Brian's page and obviously pick up one of his NHL packages. And he's got is that promo still going on with you and Dave Koken, NHL and CBB?
I don't think it is, but if you just call the office, they'll give you a nice promo. You can save some money on something. Just let them know what you want. They'll get you a great deal.
Awesome. All right, guys. Listen, you know what time it is. It's time for the 6 and 60 segment. Last week, a losing 6 and 60 segment. Only the second time this since we started doing it that the segment had lost. I blame it on shaving last week before the segment. I never shave on Fridays. I didn't shave today, so I'm guessing that this is going to be a winning 6 and 60. These are overnight lines, so they're going to change, guys. Just keep that in mind when I go through these. But let's rattle them off and let's see if we can go for a 6 and 60, 6-0 sweep with this one. All right, hit the clock, Dan, and away we go. Philly, Chicago, both teams are ready for the offseason, but the Flyers are competing against some good teams while still losing. We're going to give the Flyers the edge here. Let's play Philadelphia minus 115. Florida and Detroit, Wings on the second of a back-to-back after playing Tampa on Friday night, and they're likely going to go to their backup in Grice in goal. Florida minus 1.5 at home. Columbus and Boston, Bruins 4-1 on this 6-game road trip. They want to cap this off with a win and put some space between them and Columbus in that playoff race that might already be over. Take the Boston Bruins. Toronto and Vancouver. The under was 2-7 between these two last year, and 2-0 this year to this total of 6.5. I'm expecting a tight one on Saturday, under 6.5. Washington and Seattle. Washington gets a much-needed win against the Canes 4-0. Let's look for them to build off that one. Washington in regulation time. And finally, Colorado and Calgary. Both teams lost yesterday. Colorado, 9 straight wins off a loss. Colorado minus 150. I didn't beat the buzzer, but it's still good. Bri, what do you think?
I'm just glad you're superstitious on taking a shave instead of taking a shower, because I'd hate to see your wife on your winning streak. Hey, I keep winning. I keep winning. I'm not taking a shower until I win. Yeah, not big on those kind of things.
Yeah.
I'm going to go.
No. Okay, man. All right. I get it. So, okay, listen, guys, before we get into the best bet segment, just a couple things. I ran that contest on our Puck Time account for Wednesday night when I was at that Leafs annihilation by the Buffalo Sabres. I am going to, I think there was a bunch of people that only got 2 of the 4 questions right. I will post a video up. I'm going to find out everyone who got 2 out of 4 right, and I am going to put your name on a wheel. We'll spin the video wheel, and whoever's name it lands on will win the swag. I'm going to throw another contest up for Saturday, give you another chance at winning. I will get to the winners. I'll message you through the Puck Time Twitter account to get some info from you, and then I'll get the prize out to you in a couple weeks' time after the meet and greet in Vegas, which is on the 18th at Westgate between 2 and 7 p.m. at the clubhouse. Come out and meet everyone there. One other thing I want to mention, while Andrew's not here, he has a 5% play going up in the UFC tomorrow. Andrew's been absolutely lights out with his best bets and 5% plays in UFC. I've got a coupon up. Use the coupon code UFC10 and get $10 off Andrew's play tomorrow. So let's give the guy some props on a great UFC season thus far and pick up that 5% play. Right? Best bet time. Tell me what you've got going up at WagerTalk and your best bet for the show.
Just on the side, I would have eliminated anybody who took Tampa Bay over Buffalo in that contest. Buffalo is a three something underdog. They should automatically win if you took Buffalo to win that contest. Anyway, right now I don't have anything up in hockey. My best bet's probably going to be my best bet for my clients if I do release a play, and you'll get that right now for free. Working on college basketball, big 3-in-1 day yesterday in college basketball, but couldn't make up for the hockey loss. But I haven't finished the card yet, but just get up on there later on today and be able to see what we have. I'll go back to the game I just spoke about. The Anaheim Ducks at home against Vegas. Talked about Vegas' offense not scoring any goals right now. Anaheim matches up well with them. Anaheim's a team that is playing their fourth game in 10 days. So they're very well rested. They've had the last 2 days off. It's their fourth game of a 6-game homestand. So they not only have had a lot of breaks, break in the action, they've been playing at home the whole time. And you got a Vegas team playing back-to-back after a physical game against Boston yesterday. I expect Anaheim to win this game, and it's my best bet on today's show.
All right, there you go, Brian. Leonard with Anaheim. Guys, I'm going to go with my best bet. I'm going to go to the Tampa Bay and Detroit game. Tampa Bay losing yesterday to Pittsburgh. I'm going to take Tampa Bay on the puck line. It's -1.5, -120. Start of the season, they lost a couple of games in a row at home, but they haven't done since. They are 6-0 at home following a loss since that opening week of the season. They very rarely lose at home. They lost yesterday to Pittsburgh. I'm going to look for them to bounce back in a big way. So I'm going to take the Tampa Bay Lightning, a -1.5, -120 as my show best bet. Guys, you guys are hitting that like button. I absolutely love it. Keep hitting that like button if you haven't, or else I'm bringing Prez on for 5 days next week, and you guys don't want to see that. So let's look at the best bets on the show again. I've got the Tampa Bay Lightning -1.5, -120. Anaheim with for Brian +108 on the money line. Guys, listen, have a great betting night. Have a great betting weekend, and we will see you next Monday, 11 a.m.
Between now and Selection Sunday on March 13th, there are still tons of regular season college basketball action to go. Plus, all of the conference tournaments and WagerTalk and Sports Memo are announcing their March Madness Bonanza special, which includes the rest of college basketball regular season, conference tournaments, NCAA tournament through the national championship, and any plays released in the NIT or CBI tournaments. Sign up for this promotion now at your favorite handicappers homepage and get the rest of the college basketball season through the national championship on Monday, April 4th for just $177. That's under $5 a day for one of the best betting experience in sports. Act fast as the March Madness Bonanza special is only available for a limited